Leroye. Welcome to the Mind of Ro page. I'm Reina das Caveras, also known as the Queen of Skulls. So today I'm going to make a video on my experience being initiated into Kimbanda. It's an Afro-Brazilian, African traditional religion. So before I get started, what video did I make last? I can't remember. But my next video I'm going to make is actually going to be about religious abuse. So if you like that kind of stuff, please follow me not only on YouTube at Mind of Ro, but also on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Mind of Ro. And I also do readings as well. So if you would like to get a reading done, go ahead and shoot me a comment or a message. And I also initiate people as well. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and let me know. Set an appointment with me. So I was marked into Kimbanda a few years ago, and my personal experience with that is I underestimated getting marked into Kimbanda. I didn't, because I'm also initiated into Ifa, and I know that a lot of intense stuff happens when you get initiated into like orishas and stuff like that. So when I just got marked before I actually got fully initiated, I didn't think that Maya Shun Pampajero was going to be that powerful before even getting them seated out of the way. So my advice to anybody who's interested in being initiated into Kimbanda, know that just a marking can do a lot. Don't underestimate it. Maya Shun Pampajero were out there kicking ass before I even knew they were kicking ass, and they were coming up on Ifa readings, and Ifa was saying that their spirits and stuff protected me that weren't Orisha, and so I was just I guess I just didn't understand that they could be that intense with just a marking, without giving them a whole lot to eat yet, because I wasn't even, when I first got marked, I didn't have an altar yet, or a setup, or any plates for them, or anything yet. I didn't give them food, or, you know, so they're amazing. That's all I gotta say. Something I noticed, so in Kimbanda, they're known as the street people. So when I first set some space up for my Eshun Pampajera, when I made like plates for them, and I drew their ponchos on them, and then I brought them some, you know, gifts and stuff that they wanted and everything. I noticed because they're known to be associated with the crossroads. I noticed at the crossroads in the area I lived in, all of a sudden a whole bunch of homeless people set up camp around the same time. So I was like, wow, the energy's strong. So because they are associated with the street people, it is good to kind of keep your energy clean and stuff, so that people of the street can be more agreeable with you. So I live in Seattle, so I don't know where you live, but there's a lot of street people in Seattle. There's a lot of drug use. There's a lot of homeless people all over the place. And I did notice when I got initiated into Kimbanda that energy kind of intensified, and it kind of followed me around. So you definitely, when you get marked or get associated with Kimbanda spirits, you definitely have to do something to kind of keep that energy clean around you, because it's around and stuff, and it can make it a little more intense when you get involved in Kimbanda. So that's something to keep in mind. So that's definitely something I noticed. So I was marked with Tata Kaveta and Rosa Kaveta, and I got them seated about over a year ago. So my experience of getting them marked versus seated is, when I was marked, they're kind of just running, they're just all over the place. Like my Eshun Pampajero, they were just kind of acting out of control, and kind of just, it's hard to explain because it's energy we're talking about, is they weren't as controlled as when I got them seated. The energy kind of calmed down. But when I first got marked, I felt like they were just out there just fucking people up. It was just chaotic. Like they were just cleaning house, you know what I'm saying? And then I could feel it in the energy. So I do specialize in necromancy because I am associated with the Kaveta. So Kaveta means skull in Portuguese. I am associated with like the dead and that type of frequency, which is necromancy. They are skull faced. So I I started reading up on necromancy books, and a couple of books that I read, I realized I wasn't alone. When I was reading a couple of books, a couple of writers mentioned about when you work with necromancy, it can literally make you feel like you're going crazy, because the energy of skull-headed beings or spirits of the cemetery, I'm talking about the gods and goddesses, not just dead people. I'm talking about like the crossroad deities, whatever you want to call them. Their energy tends to be really intense and very heavy and very dark, and especially in Kimbanda, since it is Congo. So if for those of you who practice like Isheshe or work with like Orishas and stuff, or even like the Netaru, which is like Kemet, Congo, like Kimbanda and like Palo, those type are they're a lot more like they don't give it shit kind of energy. They're kind of like they're gonna do what the hell they want, and it could feel a little more earthy or a little more heavy when you're dealing with Congo spirits versus when you're working with Orisha, when you're working like with the Neter. The Neter tends to feel a little more lighter, and so a lot, not all Orishas, but some Orishas like Obatala or Oshun can feel a little more calmer and sweeter. Of course, the warriors in Isheshe or like Yoruba, like Eshu and Ogun and stuff like that are a little more feisty. So I guess you could say that energy is kind of like warriors and Orisha warriors, like Ogun and Eshu, but heavier. Like, so when you're kind of around the altars, it kind of feels like you're being pushed down more. And it's not for everybody. If you're not associated, it could actually, the energy could be, people could be really agitated simply by being near those type of beings or near those type of practitioners' homes when they're dealing with those frequencies and energies, because some people just don't like the way it feels. So because I do work with necromancy, I'm working with the National Pampajira of the dead, which that are skull-faced. Their energy can feel very, very heavy, like it feels like you're being pulled to the ground, and it could get very hot in the room that's when you're doing that kind of work and stuff like that. It's totally, it could be intense. So now I realized being marked versus having them seated. When they're marked, they're kind of just running all over the place, and I could feel them. And I felt there's so many times, and I'm sure you might have even seen me make posts online when I first got marked years ago, where I felt like I was going crazy. Like I felt like, okay, my Eshu was telling me things, but other people are telling me things. Other people are telling me not to listen to my Eshu, but my Eshu's telling me things. I had to confront people who were lying to me because my Eshu would tell me things. I was gaslit by people, and later on I found out, even through Ifa and other readings, and as with clarity, when the gods started giving me clarity, I realized, my Eshu was telling me the truth. So, and also because the Kimbandans are very, very pushy spirits. When they're trying to communicate, they're like, hello, 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 hello. This is what I said, this is what I said, this is what I said. You need to go do this, go do this, go do this. And they'll kind of push it, very pushy energy. So if I don't listen, they'll keep doing it, keep irritating me until I'm like, oh, dang, light bulb, that's what they're trying to say. So I had to get used to that when I first started working with them. And it literally made me feel like I was going crazy. So I noticed it's not just me, because when I read into other books of other writers who work with necromancy, I've heard of a couple people saying that when you work in the cemetery realm, that it can make you feel like you're going crazy. And it's not that, or like schizophrenic, but something that I realized is that when you're working with the dead and you're working with necromantic deities, you're not going crazy. They're just telling you things that you might not be ready to hear. So when you're working with the left-hand path, which is considered like the war aspect of God, while the right hand of God, or right-hand path, is basically like light, healing, empathy, while the left is more like karmic punishment, war, intense kind of feeling, and both together harmoniously actually what controls the universe, together. You need them both. So when you're working with the left-hand path and you have a lot of that energy, I always say on my Facebook wall all the time, you are what you worship. So you gotta learn to like balance the two. We don't want to be blinded by the light and feel like we always have to be too nice to people to where people are trampling all over us. We also don't want to be too warlike to where we're just like destroying our loved ones. There has to be some kind of in between center between both, you know? So necromancy can, if you're not familiar with it, if you start working with it, it can make you feel like you're going crazy. And some people, their higher purpose is just not meant to do that. So now when it comes to Kimbanda, all of it's not necromancy. I work with the kingdom of souls. So my kingdom is that, but everybody who's initiated into Kimbanda isn't always necromancy. I mean, some of them work with ocean versions of Eshu and Pampajira. So what my point is that there's different kind of houses or different kingdoms that people work with. This is just my specific one, and this is my specific experience. So when I first got marked, I did go through a lot of time. I felt like I was going crazy, and my Eshu mounted me before I ever had him seated more than one time. So for those of you who are not sure what mounting means, it means when a spirit takes over your body and your consciousness kind of moves out the way and they take over. And there was more than one time where he did that and I didn't even know. Like what happens is like I kind of black out, and then he says whatever he wants to say to whoever's around me, and then by the time I come back in, I was a total blank, and it felt like it was a split second, but to the other person that viewing it, it was longer. So my sense of time during the moment of being mounted is misconstrued. It's not what it seems to the outside world, to me, when it happens to me. Like, it feels like a split second, boom. All of a sudden, a blink of an eye, and I don't even know what happened, and I could have been, like, mounted for 30 minutes, but to me, it felt like 30, not even 30 seconds, you know? But everyone's different. People get mounted, it's totally different for everybody. I can't say this to how everybody else experiences being mounted, but I do know that my issue is mean. He can be very forgiving and calm, but he's either one or the other. He's either really, really mean or he's really, really calm. He's nowhere in between. And I hope that if you ever come into my life, I hope you get the nice version of him. Because when he does speak, there has been times where he's mounted me because he wanted to protect me, you know, and he could say supposedly some pretty mean things to people. And there is times where I get mounted by him where I'm not mounted by him all the way, and I could channel him and he'll start speaking through me. So every time I do Kimbanda work, every time I'm doing a sacrifice, or every time people are here to do some kind of like together ritual and I have to feed him, I know he's going to mount me, because he does it every time. If I need to do a major sacrifice to him and there's a bunch of people, he's like, no, I'm going to mount you. He mount me every time. Because he's like, no, this is happening. I'm going to get a message to people. But when he does, I have to say it's the most powerful feeling that I can ever experience, because I feel like I'm one with like a god. I feel like he is the Grim Reaper and he is associated with the concept of death, and Yoruba, we call the Orisha of death Iku, so he is like equivalent to Iku. And when he's about to mount me, I could feel his body being one with mine for a split second before I black out. And it feels so powerful to be one with the spirit of death, to like know like that he has the power to take anybody whenever he wants. You know, that's his job in the universe. So his energy can feel it's so aggressive and so heavy to the point it makes me, it feels like he's getting on my back like a piggyback ride. It feels like I'm being pushed to the ground when it happens. And it's a very powerful feeling. It's intense. He's definitely not like being mounted by like Obatala or Oshun. Obatala can make me really tired, feel really tired when he's like over me or like going into my body and stuff. But he feels angry. It sounds weird. He feels like it's like pure masculine energy to be one with that feeling. I've never been mounted by my Pampajira. She could kind of take over me like somewhat, but she's never done it all the way. And I know she likes to laugh. And it's crazy because if you listen to and I didn't even realize this until like I thought I was like, is this his mind? She likes to laugh. And then when I started listening to her music, I was like, okay, so it's not just me. Because if you listen to Pampajira music, you'll hear her in the background going and I noticed when she wants to be one with me, I want to laugh like that. And I'm like, why is my Pampajira laughing like that? And I realized that's what she does. What Pampajira does. Like, so a lot of times when people get mounted by Pampajira, she'll start laughing in a very distinct way, the way she laughs. But my Pampajira Rosa Cavetta is very can be very mean as well. She is, but because she's still like a female Eshu, she is a trickster as well. So she's very playful and she's very sexual. So when it comes to Pampajira, prostitutes are sacred to her for a reason, because Pampajira energy is very, very sexual. She's kind of like, if you think if Eshu and Oshun had a baby, that's who Pampajira's energy would be like. Like very playful and sweet, but also like temperamental. Like if you play with me, I'm gonna mess you up. So she's like a very temperamental Oshun. I know Oshun can be temperamental, but she's like 3 times more than that. That makes sense. So it's kind of like with her, because if you look up Rosa Cavetta on images, you'll notice like one part of her face is beautiful and the other part of her face is a skull. So basically she is the force of nature that is the process of death itself. She is that space in between from when you're alive, or when something is alive and then something's dying. And something that she's taught me is, what they both taught me is, if you're not aware of death or anything dying around you, it doesn't have to be literally death. It could be a relationship dying. It could be a job leaving. It could be moving. It could be anything, or losing a friend, or like, it doesn't have to be romantic, or going through a breakup, or losing not being friends with somebody. You know, those are considered like basically means the spirit of death is around, because you're kind of breaking from one point to the next. It's basically like a rebirth. So death doesn't represent really an end of something. It always represents like a break in something, so you could start anew somewhere else. So something they taught me is, if you're not aware of death, of things dying around you, it kind of makes us not really appreciate what we have, because we tend to forget that one day we might lose our loved ones. One day we might not have that job. One day we might not have that home, or one day we might not have whatever it is that we like, the clothes on our back, or whatever it is, and we take it for granted, you know. And working with the spirits and the forces of nature of death, I realized that they really taught me to really learn to appreciate everything that I have. Now, this doesn't mean to appreciate bullshit, okay? Don't get it twisted. So something that I realized, we have to appreciate everything that we have. If you're dealing with bullies, if you're dealing with crap and living in a place that you know it's not good for you, that's not good in an environment, that's not what I'm talking about. You wanting to leave a toxic environment does not mean you don't appreciate your environment, you don't appreciate a roof over your head, okay? So please don't get it twisted. And I call that spiritual bypassing, is people who are like, I have to appreciate everything I have. Up to an extent. You do not need to appreciate bullies, abusers, a toxic house, toxic job, not being happy. No, you don't. And when we get those concepts twisted, we end up being in situations that we don't like, because we're like delusional and we think, oh, we have to appreciate everything. You don't have to appreciate everything. If you are only appreciating toxic situations, it means you don't have appreciation for peaceful situations. Because if you did have appreciation for peaceful situations, you would be striving to have that. You see what I'm saying? But these are like things that I've learned from them, is whatever you don't internally really appreciate, like let's say a toxic relationship, and you don't appreciate being stuck in a toxic relationship, death will come take it from you. See what I'm saying? If you don't appreciate the man you're with, death will come take it from you. I'm not saying literally death. I'm saying like anything that's considered a loss, something taken from you, it's because you don't appreciate it. And that's what I've learned from working with the spirits of death, is we need to learn what to appreciate and what not to appreciate. And when we do have things that's worth appreciating, you need to hold on to it with both hands and actually act like you appreciate it and mean it and do what you need to do to hold on to it, or the spirit of death will come take it from you. And this is the laws of the universe. Life needs to be appreciated for you to keep it. That is why when a person grows into depression, they grow into sickness, and then they die. And we always have this saying in Ifa, is we do not want to be taken before our time. Being taken before your time basically means leaving this realm before you accomplish all the wonderful things that you wanted to accomplish. And I'm not saying this is fact, but I'm just saying this is according to Ifa. You can believe it or not, but according to not only Ifa, but a lot of religions, in African traditional religions, states that if you don't accomplish your mission here on earth, then your soul will kind of dwell around and want to come back here. And how do you come back here? Reincarnation to the woman's womb. You get born through a baby and go do it again and do it and keep doing it until you figure out how to do it right. So when you die and go up to the heavens, you have no need or want to come back here because you feel like you accomplished your goal. You feel like you mastered this dimension. That we're here because we're learning to master this. We're learning how to master being human and master being in this environment and learning to appreciate it. If you don't appreciate it, that's how you get taken before your time. But before you get taken, there's always signs that death is around. Sickness is the wife to death. If you're always sick all the time, that's a sign that you're diminishing. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. Like a plant. If you're not watering the flower, if you're not shining light on it, it's going to start wither away. And that's the same thing with your body. Same thing with your life. If you don't appreciate it, you're not watering it, you're not nourishing it, it's going to wither away. Same thing with all your relationships. If you don't water your relationships, if you don't nourish it, it's going to wither away. And only we are accountable. We are accountable for that. Either we're going to put the effort in or we're not. And something that I used to do and what my Eshu Papajar taught me is to stop shutting down. I used to be an avoidant. And I think I made a video about this, and I actually made some blogs about avoidant attachment issues and stuff like that. And they taught me about that shutting down does not fix anything. And if you shut down when things are happening to you, and you isolate, so I am a child of Ogun, we tend to isolate. Now, if you isolate too much, instead of handle your life, fix your relationship, and you don't take that energy to do it because you don't appreciate it enough, don't get mad if you lose it. Don't get mad if you lose your loved ones. Don't get mad if you ruin relationships. You cannot blame anybody else but yourself. You are responsible to take that energy, to pull your big boy pants up, and take the energy to fix your relationships. Make it work at your job. Work harder. If you don't like it, you don't want to put the energy because you don't appreciate it, then find something you will want to put the energy into, that you feel like you can appreciate it, you know what I mean? Or leave people and leave things alone that aren't for you. Let somebody else water it. Let somebody else take that position. Let somebody else be with that person. Whatever it is. And if we don't appreciate that, that's when death comes. Here comes death. Cutting away losses. And then you lose out. So that's just some of the stuff I've been learning to work with, or what I've learned from working with my Eshun Pampajira. And something I also, so when I first got my Eshun Pampajira seated, around the time, I think it was actually like right before, I was on this, my Eshu, because I mentioned multiple times that I am a domestic violence survivor, and one of my exes really messed me up. Like, I have a neck injury, a shoulder injury, and until today it's been like 6 years and I'm still healing from it. Like, he fucked me up. So I had a lot of fear towards men and a lot of resentment towards men, and I had a right to, but it doesn't mean it's okay for me to stay in that. If somebody hurts you and somebody treats you that way, it's normal for a human consciousness to react in fear towards what did that to them. So, but it's not okay to stay like that forever. We have to take the accountability to heal from it. So, working with my Eshu, he told me, and though it sounds weird, y'all, because I mentioned this on one of my other videos, he told me to date him, my Eshu, once a week. This basically means I would take some food and I would make some food for myself and my Eshu and light a candle and put it on my Eshu's plate, and I would talk to him as if he's my man, and he would talk to me. And I know it sounds really weird, and I was like, this is weird. And if I had people judging me for it too, but you know what I learned from this? I'm not saying everybody should do this. This is like not for everybody, but this is what it's helped me as a woman. So for those of you men who have an issue with it, it's not your business. This is for women now, okay? This is what he taught me. He taught me how men should be treating women. He told me that majority of men do not treat women right on this planet. And that's why the world is the way it is. He also told me that I need to heal from my trauma. He also told me that I need to correct my my behavior so I could actually know how to be in a good relationship. Because I was doing things to where I was gaslighting, or I was shutting down, or I was acting like an avoidant, or I was emotionally being manipulative, or shutting down a man's emotions, or I was like, he had to teach me the things that I was dealing with. So what he did was he brought a man into my life that did that shit to me. And it's crazy because I would tell people, like, look, my ex told me to be with this guy, and then everyone was like, no, you shouldn't. But I'm like, I've learned from the past that if I don't listen to my ex, he will fuck me up. He will cause chaos. So I'm like, I'm gonna listen to him, and nobody want to listen to me. No, everybody was like, don't listen to your ex. Don't listen to your ex. If anybody tells you to not listen to the spirit you're working with, please tell them to be quiet. Because if you don't, you're going to be the one to suffer. They are not here to sabotage us. Our Eshu and Pampajira are here to help us heal, and they're here to help us realize things, and they're here to teach us things. They're here to help us guide us and open the way for us to have a better life. They're not here to destroy us. And the only people who would think that way are Christian-minded people, maybe Muslims, maybe people from other paths that actually demonize Kimbanda. They don't understand, okay? So sometimes people could go from the church, act rebellious, and then jump to Kimbanda, but still think like they're in the church. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people do an African traditional religion. They'll jump from the church, go to African traditional religion, and they're like, oh, I'm conscious now. Not really. You can still think like a Christian and then put those same exact thoughts and those same bad habits and put it into African traditional religion and be the same person, just worshiping a different God with a different name. Okay? So let's keep that in mind. So this is what I realized is the more I listened to my Eshu, even if it didn't make sense, he always pushed me into the right direction. Even though, you know how many people I've gone to arguments with, how many relationships that I had to get rid of, how many people I had to shut down and slam the door in because they kept trying to get me to go in the wrong direction when my Eshu was telling me to go in that direction. And this is what I learned. Every time I listen to my Eshu, my life has been blessed and blessed and blessed and blessed. And what that taught me is to let go of my arrogance and to let go of my fear. Because a lot of times he would tell me things that didn't make any sense. Like, well, why would you have me do that for? So I would be arrogant and prideful and fearful. And like, oh, no, I can't do that. So it would put me in a weird place at the crossroads. Like, which way do I go? Do I go this way where I'm comfortable, where everybody else is telling me to go this way? Or do I go this way where I'm uncomfortable, listen to my Eshu? Very uncomfortable, in a weird place. And I got, he put me in a weird place at the crossroads will cause a lot of anxiety. I don't know if you know how it feels like when you feel like you're at the crossroads. You're like, I don't know which way to go. That's the lesson of the crossroads. Arrogance and pride, or let go of your fear and listen to the deities you're working with. Those are the choices you have, one or the other. But know that you're going to get what you pay for, and you're going to get what you deserve. You see what I'm saying? So now when I'm at the weird crossroads, when I have to like be okay with not knowing things, I don't get as anxious anymore. I don't get, because I'm like, oh, he put me through that so many times that it doesn't bother me. It made me stronger. It made me more calmer when things are unsure. It gave me the confidence to know, like when I'm not knowing exactly something, when I want to know, that regardless, everything is going to be okay. My Eshu Pampajira got it. My Orishas got it. I'm alright. I'm gonna be okay. You know what I mean? So if you get initiated into Kimbanda, know that you're gonna have to learn how to deal with being in the crossroads, because that's where they dwell. And if you don't want to deal with that, Kimbanda is not going to be for you. If you're really prideful and arrogant, you're going to have your own ass handed to you by your own spirit you're working with. Because just because they're yours, it doesn't mean that they will not punish you. So it is our job as initiates to learn how to master that energy so it's not destroying us. And then when we learn how to master that energy, then we become the enlightened priest or priestess, where we could teach other people, this is how you master that energy. And that's why you always should be respecting priests with experience. Because I get disrespected all the time. I got check people all the time. Like, look, I've been doing with death for like 4 years now. Working with necromancy for 4 years now. And if somebody hasn't, they should probably be quiet and listen to what I have to say. You know? And that's why a lot of times we need to learn how to respect priests. Because we're experienced. And we want to know what we're talking about. We're dealing with it. We're the ones mastering the energy. You know what I'm saying? But something I did realize once I got him seated, the energy did calm down. It felt like the energy was a lot more controlled afterwards. I didn't feel like they were just like all over the place all the time as much. And then, but then like when they calmed down, when I got seated, I had this weird feeling like, I kind of missed the kind of like a feeling of they're like all over the place. Even though when I was in that energy of them being all over the place, I was like, oh my God, this is so much. But then like once it calmed down, I'm like, I kind of missed it a little bit. I'm not saying I want to go back. It's somewhere in between somewhere, you know. They're very entertaining. Very entertaining. They're very fun. They're I used to say, man, Ashu and Papa Jira, man, they're fucking cool, yo. they're bad. I mean, they have skeleton faces. I mean, does it get cooler than that? You know what I mean? But I love him, man. I love my Eshu and Papa Jira. I love the personalities. My Eshu, my God, he's so mean. But he's so intense. My Papa Jira can get really inappropriate, like to say the P word and like to talk about dicks and pussies a lot. She gets real inappropriate. I had to learn to control that with my mouth, with my Papa Jira, have me say stuff like that. Like, I'm like, that's not how I talk. Like, what is this? But she was basically trying to get me and people around me to get comfortable to talk about sex in an appropriate way, you know, and understanding that I understand like a lot of the media sells everything through sex. She's changed my mind of viewing sex differently. How she kind of helped me realize, not only her, but I mean, actually helped me realize the concept of sex nowadays is very perverted. Like, it's not sacred anymore. They told me that sex is a very sacred act, and you should not be having sex with a person you have no intention of having a child with. If you do not have intention to have a child with, and then you have a child with that, that's why broken families happen. Which is the elite want you to have a broken family, because if two parents hate each other and they have to pay two different sets of bills, guess who's going to make more money? Guess who gets to raise the prices of everything? Guess who gets to raise the taxes? And guess who gets paid? The elite do. So they help me evaluate the concept of sex. Like the hookup culture, they were like, no. If you're running around having sex with multiple partners, that's a mental issue. Mental issue. Sex is two energies combining energies into one, which means you take that person's energy, they take yours. If you do not like that person's energy, then why are you sleeping with them? If you don't want to be with that person, you obviously have your reasons why. Maybe you don't like the way they act. Maybe you don't like their habit. Maybe you don't like their morals and values. But you love the way they look, right? When you sleep with them, you are soaking in their demons. And then now they're your demons. Because that's what a sexual act is. Because the universe is sexual itself. The universe is yin, yang, light, dark. We call it Odu and Ifa. Feminine, masculine energies constantly combining, which brings birth, which is in Kemet, the Ankh. Feminine, masculine energy creates rebirth, child energy, which is a symbol of the Ankh. And that's what the universe, and that's why it's called the key of life. Because the key to life is masculine and feminine energy mixing together to create life. And that is what the whole universe is made out of. So if you're toxic and you haven't healed, and he or her is toxic and that person hasn't healed, and you mix it together and both of you don't even inherently really like each other, down for each other, when you have sex and you are subconsciously thinking about these things in your mind, you both are aware of this, and you have sex, what are you giving birth to in the etheric realm and the heavenly realm? You're birthing more trauma and more issues. You literally just like and then you have an orgasm. So there's a such thing as sex magic. So they've taught me about sex magic. An orgasm, when you think about something while you're orgasming, you are creating that frequency in the energy field. So if you two are fighting and you have sex, what do you think you just gave birth to when you're like angry at each other and then you just had sex and you had an orgasm together? You literally, yes, what Brianna said, you literally just birthed chaos in your relationship or your lack thereof a relationship. And then you're traumatized. And then you guys both hate each other. And then now he's traumatized. And then now you're traumatized. And then you go off and do what? Have sex with the next person you're not fully in love with. And then you do what? You have a child with the person you don't really in love with. And then you make a child off of energy that's not pure love. And how do you think that child's going to feel when that child's born? And then that child's going to carry that demon and then grow up and then carry it on to the next person they have sex with and then give that energy to the person they had sex with, and that person's going to give that energy to that person they have sex with, and then so on. And then look at the world. Look. Right? And then we're like, I wonder why the world's crazy. Stop sleeping with people that you don't want to sleep with. Okay? If you don't want their energy in your aura, stop sleeping with them. If you don't want a child with them, then don't make children off of hate. You make children off of love. And then you wonder why there's so many souls walking around this planet, lost souls, and have no idea which direction to go, and they're scared of love, don't want to love. Nobody loves each other anymore. Why this world is based off trauma and hate and war and anger. What do you think? And then people want to normalize it, right? Like, oh, well, it's just normal. It's a new age. And who told you that? The media? Music? Hollywood told you that? Who owns Hollywood? Satanists do. So you're going to listen to them? YOLO? You only live once? No, you don't only live once. You only die once. And you come back and relive it again, and again until you get it right. So you could ascend and stop living the same chaotic life that your ancestors did and your ancestors' ancestors and so on. And then we wonder why the world is the way it is, you know? This is what they taught me. Because a lot like, so for those of you who watch this, if you're familiar with voodoo, there's the Barons, Baron Samedi. 3 Barons that are most popular ones. The Baron is known to be very sexual. So Caveras is the same concept. The reason why death spirits or death deities or whatever you want, Iku, whatever name you want to give them, are associated with sexual energy is because just like the universe is made of yin and yang, in Ifa, every Orisha has a yin and yang. They're what we call a Sogbo or Ibi, or a Sogbo or Ire or Ibi, which is basically like the agreeable aspects of an Orisha and the disagreeable aspects of an Orisha. So same thing with spirits of the cemetery, like the Baron, the Caberas, Iku. Life, what's the opposite of life? Death. What creates life? We just talked about it earlier. Sex. That's the 2 aspects of death. Life and death. But to create life, you must have sex, right? That's why the spirits of death have so much sexual energy. Because on the other side of death is what? Another life. But to create another life, there must be sexual energy. So when you think about the concept of death like it's a doorway, right? What's on the other doorway? To give birth. Sexual energy. You see what I'm saying? That's why spirits of the cemetery have a lot of sexual energy. So when I'm working with the Keves, not only do I learn about death, I learn about the concept of sex and how sacred it is. And how many people are abusing it. Not only people just in the world right now because they're just, just like mentally conditioned by the media and stuff like that. But also people in the occult. There's people that are having like freaking sexual escapades, in the occult, people doing weird stuff, to try to like create energy because they understand it, but they're just like having sex with each other. You know what I mean? And then like nobody pays any mind to like, yeah, you want to create, let's say, okay, we want to create this one thing by having sex. But then they just like totally ignore the fact that what about, okay, still, what's all the energy of the people you're having sex with? But, that doesn't make any sense to me, It's just people are, I don't know, everything's weird. but basically they taught me sex is very sacred and it needs to be treated as that, and only you are accountable. So if you can't not have sex for a while, if you can't control your sex drive, there's something that's called a sex addiction. And a lot of people, I don't know about other countries, I live in the US, a lot of people when it comes to like like the music and everything, these days it's all over the radio, it's all about sex, right? So a lot of people are listening to this in their ear, being hypnotized all the time, and people can't go very long without it, and they're just sleeping with you know, whatever. But it's an addiction. It's no different than like trying to erase your problems by doing drugs or going shopping or gambling or drinking alcohol. It's an addiction, and it needs to be seen as that and stop being normalized. And my extra puppeteer is telling me to like really look around and realize how much behavior in society is being normalized. Oh, it's just okay because it's normalized. Who said? So they told me to like really look around and see, you know, when it comes to like all this stuff going on in the world, just because everybody else is doing it, it doesn't make it okay. So when I first moved in where I was working, I had this whole mindset like, oh, I'm an independent woman, I can do everything by myself, and I want to do everything by my powerful black. You know what my ancient puppeteer helped me realize? You don't want to be alone. You don't want to keep working this hard. That's not what you want. You only were thinking that way because the media is telling you to think that way. Because you're traumatized by people. If you weren't traumatized by people and the media wasn't telling you that, you wouldn't want to be working hard to work for yourself and pay your own bills and be alone and be an independent woman. The media convinced you that. And then I had my pride and arrogance saying, but I'm an independent woman. Blah, blah, blah. You know what the Risha's told me? The Risha says, make a bow for marriage and love. The Risha said, stop being so involved with vanity and buying girly stuff and buying makeup and clothes. Stop focusing on yourself and trying to be an independent woman and make a bow for love. I did what Ifa told me to do. I said I didn't want to because I felt like inside I wasn't ready. But Ifa said, you need to focus on love, not vanity. Not being an independent woman. Which is okay, you know. To know that I have that within myself, to know that I can take care of myself it's always good. That's okay, you know. And I had this weird thing where I was like, I remember thinking like, oh, who are these women to think that they could just stay home with a baby and just have a man take care of a man? And I started to realize that was my bitterness and anger and jealousy, saying, because who doesn't want to sit around and be taken care of by a man and not pay bills? Who doesn't? Men don't even want to go to work and pay bills. So who convinced us women to think like we just want to go to work and pay bills and be independent? Nobody wants to go to work and work hard and pay bills and be independent. We all want to be taken care of. We all do. A man would love to be taken care of. And who wouldn't want to? You know what I'm saying? Like, can we really evaluate this thought and where it came from? You know, if you as a woman were abused, cheated on, hit, beat, mentally, emotionally manipulated by a man, would you still think the way you're thinking? Honestly, would you still be bitter about love if that didn't happen to you? So I had to reevaluate, like, a lot of things that I believed due to like, oh, I'm just like everybody else, it's a new way to how I'm supposed to be, was based off trauma. I had to be that because I was traumatized. I had to identify as a single, independent, strong woman because I was traumatized by a man who beat the crap out of me and pushed me out to where I had to work full time and work my butt off to live by myself in Seattle. It's not easy. Do you know how expensive it is to live in Seattle? I had to do it to survive. So can we know the difference between survival mode and actually who we are? Who are you when you're not in survival mode? I had to ask myself, who am I when I'm not in survival mode? And I feel like my whole life, I left my family when I was 15 because my mom abused me. And I had to learn how to survive in the streets by myself. I was always in survival mode. So I had to be like this powerful, strong, independent woman, single, independent woman, and do it all by myself. And I had to find empowerment in that by telling myself I want to be that. Because it makes me feel better if I convince myself I want to be that. For my own sanity, right? And then Risha said, make Ebel for love. So I started making Ebel for love. And now I have it. And now, and it's a healthy relationship. You know? Obviously, we're not perfect. Obviously, we have disagreements, you know, but I'm in a healthy relationship and I don't feel like I'm scared for my life all the time. I don't feel like I have to constantly check him all the time. I don't feel like I'm being gaslit all the time. You know how hard it is to be with somebody and not be constantly gaslit when you express your emotions? It's like so hard to find that. So now that I'm not feeling like I can't express my emotion, I can actually express my emotions now, you know, without somebody invalidating them, like my emotionally invalidating mother I grew up with. I feel emotionally and mentally and physically safe. And I had to realize, who am I now? If I don't have to constantly have my boxing gloves up to protect myself constantly, who am I without when I get to put my hands down and put my fists down and take my gloves off and put my hands down? Who am I? You know? And I think a lot of us, I can't say this for men, I don't know what it's like to be a man, but I know as a woman, that's what they taught me. They taught me how to put my gloves down and let my orishas and let my Eshu and Pampajira fight my wars for me, so I'm able to relax my hands and not feel like I've always got to like block people's hits all the time. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, like if you ask yourself, who would you be if you feel like you don't always have to be put your fist in front of your hand to... I used to take kickboxing, and my trainer used to say, don't put your hands down, don't put your hands down, don't put your hands down. Sometimes life, my phone's about to die. Sometimes life feels like that, yo. Sometimes life feels like you can't put your hands down, right? But I ask you to really think and evaluate this. If you were able to put your hands down, put your gloves down, who would you be? And that's my lesson I had to learn with my Eshu Papajira, because something I learned, my Eshu does not like a lot of men. My Eshu, he will fuck dudes up for trying to holler at me and try to be with me, and he's like, no, he's not good for you. And if they don't leave me alone, crazy stuff can happen to men who don't leave me alone, and he does not want for me, you know? And then at first I thought, well, he's just a jealous spirit, you know? And then I had to realize that he could be perceived as that, but that it's because he's protecting me. He sees something that I don't see. And a lot of times we have to allow the spirits we work with, our Eshus and our Pampajiras or our Orishas, to make that clear and stop being arrogant and not listen to them. Your spirits aren't going to go attack somebody for no damn reason. You know? Especially if you didn't know. It's different if you did work on somebody on purpose, you know? But if you didn't, you know, they're not going to just go, they're not stupid. You know, Eshus and Pampajiras aren't stupid. They're not ignorant. They know what they're doing. So I think it's hilarious that so many people, like, they don't want to listen to an Eshu and Pampajira. I'm like, so you think they're stupid? You think that they're ignorant? You think that they don't know what's going on with that person? They can see everything that you can't see. You know? So my suggestion to you, when you get initiated, listen to your spirits. They know what's going on. They see what you don't see. And if you don't listen, you're going to learn. You could either learn the easy way and listen, or not listen and learn the hard way. But when you're messing around with Eshus and Pampajiras, they're associated with fire for a reason. So if you don't listen to them, they're going to put fire on that ass until you learn to listen. You know, that's why they can be very hard to control and very hard to deal with. You know, it takes a lot of experience, years and years and years, to learn just your Eshu and Pampajira, let alone the hundreds and hundreds of other ones that exist, you know? So, hold on, where's my list at? I'm looking at my list, see what I want to say here. So that's my experience. My first experience also with my Eshu taught me about men. My Eshu actually opened the way for, and the Orishas obviously opened the way for me to initiate men. So I have 3 male homos. My man's now, he married my king, so he's like kind of partially initiated into my Ile and stuff. So in my Ile I have like 4 men and only 1 woman. In my Ile, but and it's on purpose because my Eshu wanted me to learn about men. My Eshu wanted me to stop fearing men. So then I was able to see men from a different perspective as being an elder and helping men and understanding their pain and their struggle, to be able to guide them, you know, with that and help them understand women and stuff like that, but not from like a judgmental point of view, because I'm coming from a motherly point of view, because Iya and Yaya means mother, you know. So I'm able to understand them, and now I don't fear men like I used to. Because I used to fear men a lot, and it would show. Even my friends would even say like, "Yo, like you're acting real edgy with men and stuff." Like, yeah, well, try getting your ass, being a woman, getting your ass whooped by a man. You know, having to go to hospital all the time, and then have a guy gas at you, and then see how you react. You know what I'm saying? I can't say. I mean, for women, it's a lot different. It's going to be hard for a lot of you men to understand because you're not a woman. You know, a lot of us women can live in a lot of fear, dealing with a lot of men out here are messing us up. Men out here are just fucking women up. Man, they are. The domestic violence rate, if you go and look at the statistics on how many women get murdered by their own spouse, the number is ridiculous. It's fucked up out here, for real. So, but being a practitioner taught me that I don't have to fear it anymore. I have my Yenshin Pampajiro, I have my Orishas, they'll go handle it for me. So I'm not scared anymore. And I actually literally got initiated and started working the left-hand path to protect me from abusive men on purpose. I did it because of that. Because so many men are abusive out here. Because we live in a patriarchal world, People are traumatized. But I have to say, for those of you women who are watching this, if you want to be if you are a woman who gets abused, have a history of being abused by men, or you're just tired of that, come to our Torero. Your Eshun Pampajiro will protect you and clean up that energy to close the way to abusive people and abusive ways, and heal heal the trauma in you, and open the way for you to have more loving, caring people around you. And so it will change the whole frequency in your life. So I know that Kimbanda is associated with fire and scary stuff, but don't get it twisted. It's not demonic, because they've definitely offered a lot of healing. They've helped with my emotions. They've helped me be one with my emotions. I've been studying emotions a lot recently. So the Kingdom of Souls specializes in emotions. And I've been learning a lot about emotions, not only with me as a woman, but watching emotions and studying emotions in other women and our emotional spiritual body. There is an emotional body that is not our physical body, that is in existence even after you die. And they're teaching me about that, and how much a lot of our emotional bodies are not being respected in this realm. And that's why there's so much trauma, is we are not respecting our own emotional body, and we're not respecting other people's emotional body, and other people are not respecting our emotional body. And we need to be aware of it so we could heal, and so we could set boundaries, and so we could also share this with other people when we do heal ourselves. And I think that I know that elite are doing this on purpose. The elite knows how powerful emotions are, and that's why they're throwing out people's hormones. That's why they're using emotional tactics or psychological tactics to affect your emotions when they create commercials in the news to purposely get you to vote on something that you don't even know what you're voting for, because they emotionally manipulated you. And they know this. And they're teaching me a lot about how important the emotional body is. So I will definitely make more videos on that. I'm still in the beginning or partially in the beginning of my journey of listening to them and what they're telling me about my own emotional body. Eventually I will, not the next video, but probably the video after that. I still want more time. Emotions is a lot. I probably need to do a multiple series of the emotional body, not only our physical, but our spiritual body. And it's so totally different for women than it is for men, and how we interact with each other, and how the elite take advantage of it. I could probably write a freaking book on it, just on the emotions. So maybe that's something I should do, guys. So look out for that eventually, not the next one, but the one after that. I'll start getting really into the emotions and stuff like that. I know it's scary. We hate emotions, but we have to be more educated on that aspect of ourselves. So I do also want to talk about sex more, and sex magic, and also our sexuality, and how we make choices based off our sexuality, and also dealing with sexual abuse in previous relationships, or not even relationships, people who've been raped, people who can be sexually harassing their own spouse and not even realize that they're doing it. I want to tap into all that's in the sex war going on between men and women, and why the media is manipulating men and women to fight each other. And this is stuff that my Eshun Papajura is really making me very hyper aware of, because they specialize in emotions, sex. Everybody's the rate of death is really high right now across the globe due to this crap that the elite are doing, putting crap in our food, the shots going around. Like this is their realm, man. This is their realm to teach me about all this stuff that's going on right now. So look out. This is like, I'm going to go on to some series and stuff of all this kind of stuff going on, because this is stuff we need to be aware of. I noticed that women are conditioned to hate men are conditioned to hate women, and people are sucked into this, and people think this is normal and this is okay. And we gotta stop, man. Like, we have to really, can we wake up and see that this is manipulation? Can we stop normalizing this? Can we stop normalizing hookup culture and women hating men and men hating women? And I just want to be single and independent. I'd rather have a broken home than be with a home, because love is just overrated and marriage is overrated, or their marriage is due to conditioning. So don't love anymore? I'd rather be conditioned to be married and have a family than conditioned to be alone and single and bitter all the time. I don't know about you, but really think about that, you know? Like, I think people are so confused right now. If you don't have unity, you have nothing. If you don't have your family, if you don't have your spouse by your side, if you're a man and you have a powerful woman to back you up, you have nothing. If you're a woman, you have a powerful man to back you up, you have nothing. Now they're out here trying to force people to be like sexually confused due to like messing up people's hormones, and people are normalizing this crap. When we already know, according to science, that imbalanced hormones causes not only psychological but emotional issues, but health issues. And now we're normalizing this. And if you speak on it, it's offensive. You know, like this. Come on, y'all. Like, can we wake up to this and realize this is all manipulation, and we need to wake up to it and stop getting offended when somebody tells you the truth, because they're trying to shut our throat chakra up, trying to stop us from speaking. So this is what my Eshu told me, to start standing up when somebody gaslights, or when somebody tries to shut your throat chakra up because they want to act offended by it, to keep speaking. Because the elite want to shut your mouth up so they can keep doing what they're doing. So they have the whole cancel culture to shut people up, to people get so scared to speak about the truth that they just won't. So their little goals and agendas can happen. I'm not falling for it, yo. Just trying to shut me up, and I'll go straight to my Eshu and be like, try to shut me up. You're the one about to be shut up. Don't play with me, yo. We're allowed to speak the truth. You want to live a lie? Shame that. Don't shame me. You know what I'm saying? And we need to stand up and do this shit together, you know? And they don't want us to do it together. They want us to fight each other. They want us to go practice African traditional religion and have the voodooists hate the Yoruba people, and have the Yoruba people hate the Palo people, and have the Palo people hate the Kimbanda. They're doing it on purpose, y'all. Like, you can't see this happening? That at the African traditional religion, everybody fighting each other when the elite are fucking everybody up? Like, you can't see this? You can't see the bullshit? Like, honestly? And I have people always trying to argue with why. I've too many people that practice African traditional religion, they want to argue because of one word I said, gaslight me over one word I said. When there's kids out here being raped by Hollywood people and elite, but you want to argue with me about one word I said? You see how stupid that is? You see what I'm saying? And people, y'all can't see this happening in front of your face. You know? We're supposed to be going to our plots, working together against the elite, but they're convincing us to fight with each other. And like, when you say something about it, they get offended. Like, why are you offended? I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to help you be happy and unite with us. We're trying to unite. And you're mad because I'm telling you to stop fighting with us? You're mad because you want to fight with the next Elay and the next religious house, and you're mad because I'm telling you not to? You should be mad that you were convinced to fight with the next Elay house because the elite are brainwashing you. That's what you should be mad about. Be mad about that. If you want to be mad about something, be mad about that. You know? Because I'm getting sick and tired of houses and toreros and Elays fighting each other, African traditional religion. Why? Y'all doing the same thing. Y'all working with similar forces of nature. Y'all have the same goals to heal and be better and ascend out of this reality. That's what the goal, that's what the end goal is. That's what it is. But y'all want to fight with everybody else on the same goal? You just be fighting them guys. You know? And that's why that's why they keep winning, right? Because they're convincing everybody to fight with each other. They're convincing the man and the woman to fight with each other, break up the families. Now, like, oh, shoot. They getting back with the ancestors and they teach them how to do their cult. Let's break them up too. And then when they don't want to be broken up, we're going to emotionally manipulate them and convince them that the next person over there is their enemy, not us. They ain't watching us. Can we see the illusion going on here, please, with the whole African traditional religion? I'm mentioning this because in the next video, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about religious abuse going on in not only Eli's and African traditional religion, but also the churches. And then nobody gets a pass, y'all. We can't be like, oh, I don't like it that Christian churches abuse people, so it's okay for people in African traditional religion to abuse people, but it's not okay for Christians to? That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense to me. Okay? Abuse is abuse, no matter what religion. I don't care if you're Islam, Christian, Ifa, Kimbanda. Abuse is abuse, and it should not be condoned. And if you are a priest or a priestess, you should not be condoning it. And it sure as hell shouldn't be normalized in the culture. Okay? I'm not gonna run around and be like, oh, I'm Yaya, so I can just like talk shit to people and just treat people like crap because I'm Yaya. Man, look at me. You know, like grow up. Okay? We're not 8. Like, Jesus Christ, y'all. Like, this is what they're telling me, and I had to realize. So within this year, my issue Papajira was like, open your eyes and realize who you are as a Yaya. Who do you want to be as an Iya? Do you want to be like everybody else, or are you going to find your own way? Now that you initiate people, who do you want to be? What house do you want to build? And I want to be happy, and I want to teach people how to build their own happiness. Not run around attacking people, be in spiritual wars. Stupid. Like, why do I want to do that? You know, why do you want to do that? You know, the occult is to be happy. The occult is to heal our wounds. Is to like open the way for we can have like family and houses, eat delicious food, and sit at tables with their loved ones. That's what it's for, and heal all the trauma within us from our childhood, so we could grow up and like love people, humans around us, not hate everybody, and then raise wonderful healed children. That's what the occult is for. It's not for, I'm just gonna go punish everybody out, punish that person because they said the wrong thing. Man. It's like, grow up, y'all, you know? And I realized, like, I was taught, I've even learned that I've been around all kinds of like people and practitioners like trying to teach me to be toxic, and I'm like, nah, no, this don't feel right to me. You know, I don't care what religion you follow or what you claim or what title you have. Nobody on this planet is going to teach me and tell me that I need to be doing toxic things because I have a title. No, that's not okay. I'm not going to do that. So like within this year, my Eshu and Pampajira has taught me to really evaluate what other practitioners, what other Yayas, Tatas, Babalaos, Iyas have brainwashed me to think that's okay. Or people online have brainwashed me to think that's okay because it's a religious belief, it's okay. Like, no. If it's not in good character, it's not okay. There is not one religion on this planet that's going to convince me, or you should, nobody should be being convinced. That's going to convince me that just because it's that religion, it's okay. Working with the Orishas and Eshu and Pampajira is what I learned according to universal law. Nobody gets a pass. Your mom don't get a pass. Your dad don't get a pass. Your baba don't get a pass. Even your own children don't get a pass. If you're not practicing good character, you're going to be corrected, either the easy way or the hard way. Nobody gets a pass. I don't care how high your title is. I don't care how many research you're initiated into. I don't care how much experience you have. If you are not practicing good character, you need to correct your character, and if you don't, the Orishas will. Eshu and Pampajiras will, the Vodun will, the Netter will, whatever name you want to give it, Olodumare will correct your behavior. No title gives you a pass. And the fact that people think their title gives them a pass sounds like narcissism to me, to be honest. The world revolves around you. The world does not revolve around you. There's universal law at play, and if you practice the occult, that's what the occult is learning universal law. If you do not understand universal law, then you don't understand the occult. Straight up. And it takes years and years and years in practice to understand how to not only read or communicate or comprehend universal law, but to know how to work in harmony with it. So when you're practicing the occult, you're literally learning to work in harmony with the universe. You call it Nzambi, you call it Olodumare, Amun, whatever you want to call it, the Most High, Allah, whatever. Okay? You're working in harmony with the universe. And it takes the rest of your life to do it. And then once you die, you probably still haven't mastered it. So that's what the occult is. And I think it's crazy that when people practice the occult, I'm surprised how many people don't know this. But that's my job as an Ian and Yaya to teach people that. So, but I let you know, for those of you who are interested to be initiated, I am very picky. If you are arrogant, if you are stubborn, if you don't listen, if you aren't consistent, I will not initiate you. If you're sneaky and trying to get information out of me without paying your dues, without making elbow, without doing things, I ain't stupid. You're not going to lie to me and all the research in my Asian Papajira. I'm not going to deal with you. You know, so, and I don't have to. Us priests, we can pick who we want. We don't have to do with anybody we want to. We don't owe nothing, nobody. We really don't. So, for those of you who want to be arrogant, then you deserve to be with an arrogant priest. I'm just being honest with you. So go deal with that. but anyways, this is my experience doing with my Eshu and Papajira and learning from them. I have learned so much, and I have so much more to share with y'all. If I was going to get into emotions and the concept of sex, I would be here for probably many, many, many hours and many days. But so I'm going to get off this phone, but please look out for my next video on religious abuse. And I'm not going to make it in regards to just African traditional religion because I think that's biased. You know, obviously I'm going to touch base on it because I have a lot of experience in that. But I'm going to touch base on religious abuse in general and all the signs, red flags that you are dealing with it or you have, and things that you could do to help heal you from it, and things that you might be dealing with now and you're not even aware that you're dealing with it. Because my Eshun Pampajira recently has been teaching me, like, you're dealing with religious abuse and you need to heal from this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that until they told me, you know? So you could be dealing with it right now. You could be traumatized and it still could be affecting your personality or even like convincing you to behave a certain way and you don't even realize it right now. You could be totally just blind to it. So please look out for that in my next video. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that in like either a week or two. Till then, Leroy. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Mind of Bro. Peace, y'all.